Warning, this podcast may contain bad language and
guests.
No, it will contain guests, yes, but also, what's the listener version of scenes?
Landscapes.
Content that some listeners may find offensive.
That's a bit of a stumble bumble there at the beginning.
They can't all be great.
Welcome to the Seesaw Podcast with T and Cleves.
Each week, offering up a delayed perspective on life. Welcome to Seesaw, the home of Seesaw, and all other playground equipment. I'm T, that's Cleves. We've got to jump right in. We have a guest, first guest of the year. We have Selina of Blind Young Things fame, and we're going to be chatting about her experience of the documentary. Hi, Selina.
Hey.
How are you?
Yes, I'm good, thank you. As I said, long time. Yeah, this is going to be fun.
It's awesome to catch up, and if you're comfortable, if you want to tell people sort of like who you are and what you're up to.
Well, for your listeners, they've obviously heard about me if they've listened to the Blind Young Things episode, but that's kind of my past, I suppose. I'm now 33. I live in Leicester. I'm a guide dog owner. I try to be an athlete, blogger, work in health and social care. Live with my fiance, got on the property ladder. I think I've done okay.
Got a lot going on, to be fair.
Yeah. When I say it out loud, yeah, it sounds all right.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on, Selina. Today, I think we're going to cap off the RNC Hereford Blind Young Things Chronicles. But seeing as you were in the documentary, and we had some less than complimentary things to say about the documentary, we were nice to you.
I think you came up best out of it, to be fair.
Exactly. That's why I'm here today. I'm still talking to you.
You see, what we haven't told is we reached out to Dan and Steve. We have cease and desist orders and various things in place now. But it'd be great to get your thoughts on some various bits and bobs about it. And I know it was a long time ago, so if there's anything that's not really stuck with you, don't worry. But I suppose my first question would be, how did they approach you about this? Because, of course, this was your first year at the college as well. So it's a new college and then Channel 4 turned up.
I guess what people don't know is that I kind of made it all happen. I think it must have been a few months before we all started at RNC. I think it was an RNIB forum, or it could have been some other visually impaired forum. Channel 4 had put out this post about making a documentary, and I replied, don't know why at the time, to the eager teenager, I want to be on TV, and said about, this is me and I'll be going to this college. And then I think after that, they approached the college. They said to me there was no guarantee that they would choose me for the documentary, even though I kind of given them the tip off, if you like. But then they did. I think they spent a few days just generally chatting to people, didn't they, in the first instance, at the first term of the college, to get to know people, to see who they wanted to feature. And they kind of liked my story of going blind, I guess, would make good TV. So, yeah.
How do you explain the other people then? Did they make good TV?
There was a lot of controversy, wasn't there, at the time? I don't know if you guys remember, about who they'd picked. Obviously, they were trying to get all the ethnicities and ticking those kind of boxes. I know the older students were a bit unhappy that they hadn't picked any older students. They'd only picked young people. So they kind of then thought, well, why aren't you showing, everyone's stories, but they made sure they had one female, two males, both genders, I have no idea how Dan and Steve agreed to do it at all. What made them, Dan, I can imagine, was up for anything. Steve, a bit more surprising, really, I guess, of why he was up for doing it.
It did seem like they knew what they wanted. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we were all aware of what they wanted at the time. I think we all went into it thinking, this is going to be great sort of positive profiling for the blind and visually impaired. And I think we all thought when they were filming, especially the footage and the scenes they wanted, I think I was thinking the whole time, this is going to be good. And then some of the end results is a bit, interesting decision why you've gone that way. But I'd like to think that they went in with that agenda to begin with.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we were 18 and we thought we knew everything back then anyway. And in hindsight, we totally didn't know the agenda, I guess, that they had. Just thought it was something fun that was happening.
Yeah.
100%. But I suppose this is a loaded question. How did you find sort of being followed around like with a camera and a boom mic and being interviewed all the time? Because of course, like this, you were going through a lot at the time, and you're at the college, your first year there, and you're very much going through a sight loss journey. It's a tough time for you. So how did you find them sort of? Because they were everywhere. They were a shadow. I noticed a lot of the time. How did that go?
Yeah, do you know what? When I look back at it, I think they were a bit of a distraction for me. I think without the documentary, my time at the college probably would have been quite different. I guess I liked the attention that it brought at the time for me. I was, I don't know how to just... I'm a bit snobby, I think I was back then. I think I still am now. I kind of think I'm better than everyone I did and thought, yeah, look at me. I was really up for them filming me, didn't have a problem 80% of the time, was happy to go to places, do things that they suggested. They said, can we film you walking to the shops, for example? That wasn't just me fancy going to the shops. I never actually went to the shops by myself when I was at the college. That was just for the camera. But the other 20% of the time, sometimes I was tired and didn't want to film, but I've signed up to this and I had to do it. And I know one of the scenes that really sticks with me that they kept in, I think it was me complaining about not having a boyfriend, blah blah blah.
How times have changed.
They kept I didn't want to go back to my room and film that night, but I did it anyway. And then they kept asking me questions, like kind of deliberately winding me up until they got that reaction from me. And yep, that stayed in. And they did so much filming that doesn't even make the cut. It's crazy to think how much I did. Like I did quite a bit with my own family, but they weren't featured. Yeah. They didn't film any of my athletics. Well, they filmed it, sorry, but they didn't show it in the show. And me doing any of my sport and athletics. I felt like a lot of me wasn't shown.
That'd be extras on YouTube these days.
Yeah. And I think when I was in the documentary the least out of the three of us in the end, which is fine, but there was a lot, hours and hours and hours of footage that they had to trawl through and make a documentary out of. How they do that, I don't know. That's got to be a difficult task in itself.
Basically, how do you compete with making a cheese sandwich?
Yeah. Yeah, my other stuff just didn't live up to that.
Do you think it affected your studies at all?
I didn't really go for studying. So the reason why I went to RNC to learn how to be a blind person. Basically, I'd already gone through mainstream education, done my A-levels. I specifically went to learn how to be blind because I'd gradually lost my sight. I had pretty good partial vision until I was 10 and then gradually lost it between the ages of 10 and 18. It was actually at RNC I lost my final bit of vision. I was after that operation I had that they showed on the documentary. I was never able to read again, never able to see colours or shapes or anything. The operation didn't work, but they didn't want to let the public know that. So that actually was a really significant time for me, losing that remainder of vision. They tried teaching me Braille through secondary school, but I wasn't interested because I could still read print. Why do I need to learn Braille? So I did do that at RNC properly. That's probably the only half decent thing that I did there.
Whilst we've got you, do you use it?
I do use it from time to time.
Okay.
It does come in handy.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I used to try and read books and stuff in Braille, but way too slow. But like medication and stuff, and if it, I probably use it 2% of the time in my life. But it's a useful skill to have, I think. I know you had your whole podcast on it.
Well, that's why I asked. I thought I'd get someone else's opinion whilst we were here. Yeah.
But going to RNC, just going back to why I went there, it was again just to learn how to be blind, independent living skills, which actually I didn't get from there at all. Because the cooking classes, things that we had, then you get signed off. I got signed off as soon as possible and basically told them I could do everything because I wanted that money that they gave us each week for the shopping. That was the only way to get it. I basically blagged my way through as best I could and said, yeah, I can do this, I can do that. I couldn't do anything. But one thing I did do was that I never ate in the refectory. I did cook, I say cook in inverted commas, for myself every day, shoving stuff in the oven or getting takeaways. I feel like as a college for the blind, it let me down in that I was losing my vision, but there was no counselling services, no mental health support. There wasn't really peer support if I think about it, because I know we all were visually impaired, but I don't remember talking to anyone about my sight loss and how was it so much. We just kind of got on with things. And I deliberately, I guess as well, I think it's partly where they placed us. Like, we were obviously all in Armitage on top floor. And when, I don't know if you knew, but they supposedly have the most able people on the top floor, which would have been us. And I think Dan just got put there because of his age rather than realization of his
I was going to say
abilities. So other than me and Dan on our floor, everyone was partially sighted, like pretty good partial vision. So I then only hung out with the partially sighted people at college. I didn't really make friends with the totals at all. And when I look at it, we did have that segregation, really, even at a college for the visually impaired. I probably would have benefited making some friends with those who had no vision to teach me a few things that I did need to know about how do I do this now. I can't really say, but there was just none of that was encouraged. They segregated us by default.
That's actually quite a good point. I never really thought about that. Even from the off, you're kind of separated.
No, I don't know if you guys hung around with totals or not, but like
rarely.
No,
exactly.
Well, I lived with a total, and I could see there was a lot of things that he wasn't taught because he was also signed up on living skills. I don't know how he was. We've spoken about it in previous episodes, but it's like how he got signed off and was living independently off campus. It was baffling, and I suppose that's what always made me scratch my head at that time. It's like you're not prepared for life at all. Yeah,
the independent living skills were like they should have been better. But I remember my first lesson was how to make a hot drink, and they were like, "Do you make it in the microwave?" I was like, "What? Like a cup of tea in the microwave?" But no, use a kettle. Yeah. That's how they're teaching some people to make a hot drink.
So, if we go back to the documentary briefly, how do you feel it portrayed yourself?
It was definitely me. I could see, watching back over years. But yeah, that's Selina. God, I can see similarities that I've brought into proper adulthood. As I said, the one scene that I'm really, really bitchy isn't me generally, and also I swallowed. I hate swearing. I don't swear at all now. I can't believe that. I don't know if that was the pressure of the cameras, but I don't swear. So I always find that really weird to watch. And I know I liked it that they showed me as a kid doing my little roller skating on holiday. They showed those videos, which it's good that they showed the side of me where I did have good partial vision. Because at RNC, to be fair, I had very, very poor vision. I probably thought it was better than what it was at the time, but when I look at it, people probably wouldn't call that partial vision. They probably would refer to themselves as being blind. I don't know. Could they have done a better job of showing me? Probably. But at the same time, they did show the vulnerable teenager that I was. It was a really difficult time in my life. And as a teenager, we just want to fit in. That's the main thing for any teenager. But then being a teenager who's visually impaired, it's just even more difficult, isn't it? I think it really highlighted that. It's not easy.
No.
Having a disability and being a teenager is complicated.
So, loaded question here, and this is one that I haven't written down, but a loaded question. The love story. What is your thoughts on the love story that was shoehorned into this documentary, which took up...
I think we know what you thought of it, Selina. How does Dan get a girlfriend? How does even Dan get a girlfriend?
Oh, my goodness.
I know, and
I had a preview of the documentary before it was, I think it was the night before we watched it, and then it went out on Channel 4 the next day. And the morning of the documentary being shown, I happened to bump into Stacey on the way to college at the crossing, and I said to her, do you know what? There's something in that documentary that I say about you, and I didn't mean it. I am so sorry. I apologize before. It's like, oh my God, how awful.
But that's good. Not good to hear, but the fact that they pushed you in that way, I think, is a bit shitty of them, to be honest.
They've got to make TV, haven't they?
That's it, yeah.
The love story. Do you know, I think it did need to be shown, to be fair, in the documentary, because RNC, it was just all about relationships and who was with who, and that was RNC. It wasn't about being blind and getting your independence. It was who's hooking up with who.
In the most cringy way possible.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
It really was. And I guess we were teenagers. I don't think you had any romances at college, but I know Cleves, you did. So
yeah, thank you.
Cleves did. I think I had a couple of what you would call, I don't know, flings, not one night stands, but a couple of things happened.
You didn't tell me about these at the time.
I had no choice. It was public knowledge.
It was public knowledge, but yeah, there you go. We got all the trash. No, but in general, how did you feel like the documentary was? Like, looking back on it, because we were less than complimentary to it, but of course we weren't in it, and we're going at it at a different angle. But
yeah,
the thing is, you were in it.
What I was going to say is, did you watch it at the time and think one thing, and then have you seen it like since then, like X amount of years later, and then there's you mentioned that you've seen it a couple of times since. Do you find it gets better or worse with age? I just noticed different cringy things each time. It's so old school in a way. It's kind of out of date now, because this is time before when we had like smartphones and things. I bet the college is quite different now in some respects. I'm glad I did it in a way to have that memory of my time at the college, even though it's a distorted memory. But at the same time, I guess it's a good thing to look at and be like, I'm glad I'm not that person anymore. I'm glad I managed to make something of myself, even though I thought I was great at the time. And then maybe I'm going to look at myself the way I am now in 10 years' time and think, God, I'm glad I'm not her anymore either. Do you think at any point it was a little bit too intrusive? Because like what sticks out for me is that bit at the end where you got in for your operation, and that's difficult to watch. It's difficult to watch, but actually, to be fair to them, I threw up on the way down to surgery, more of nerves than anything else. And they cut that bit out. And I said, please don't put that in there. And they didn't, because they could have made that like even more horrific. I'm not sure visually how it looked, but I remember somebody saying to me after they watched it, like, you had an injection into your eye. And I didn't. It was into my hand. I think they did a close-up of me having the general anesthetic. But it was a bit strange that I know why they did it, the happy and the trauma side of things. But I was at that concert watching Dan and Steve, but yeah, I was supposed to be in theatre having an operation. I guess I signed up to that. I agreed for them to film that operation. I kind of pushed for that operation in a way, and I think possibly that Moorfields pushed, because of the documentary as well and exposure for them. Maybe they did that operation when they didn't think it was in my best interest when I look back on it in hindsight, because it didn't work. Maybe it was better that I didn't have that operation. I don't know. I'll never know. But that does niggle me somewhat. Yeah. Did the operation, did it, I know you said it didn't work, but did it make things worse? Basically, yeah. No, shit. Yeah. So I'd been having operations anyway between the ages of 10 and 18. My retinas kept detaching. They kept reattaching it and other bits and bobs. So I was used to the process of losing my vision and getting it back, losing it, getting some back. And each time I never got as much back as before. And the length of time of having the vision was never as long either. But it was just, that was my norm. So I fully expected going into the operation, it would be the same thing. The retina had detached again. My vision had got blurry to the point that reading text on my CCTV at the time, magnifier, I couldn't make it out. But when I came out of the operation,
And like a few weeks later, months later, I never got, other than light perception, that was it. I didn't get colours or anything back. And I just kind of wish I don't know, again, I was young. I wish I'd thought about it more. I was thinking operations are the way forward, but maybe I needed to know when to stop trying to have operations to get my vision back. I think I made it worse by going for it.
Yeah. Given the list that you reeled off at the start, it doesn't seem to have hampered you that much.
Well, do you know, this is the other thing. You both are still going through your sight loss journeys, and losing your vision is hard. If I had to do it all over again, I would, to go back and lose my sight all over again, because having vision is really good. But at the same time, once it's gone, you've got that closure eventually. You go through, there's a grieving process, I guess. You're kind of half grieving when you're losing your sight, aren't you? But there's always that thing where, oh, this is the end of the world. And then actually it's okay. I can still do stuff, just in a different way, and you adapt and you learn. And I've done a lot of learning. My 20s were hard, to be fair, learning with just having light perception. When I went into like employment, I didn't have the skills, really. I didn't know how to advocate for myself as a blind person, because when I went through school, I would use the supernova magnifier. Now I was a complete screen reader user. I didn't really know how to use a screen reader that well, which is what I should have learned at RNC, but didn't. And my first job just didn't go well. I didn't know what support to ask for from Access to Work. My boss at the time didn't want me to have a support worker, because they thought that would be not letting me to be independent as possible, when really I wasn't. It was kind of hindering me more by not having a support worker. Like back then, there was no technology to read handwritten material, which was a lot of my job. I just couldn't do it. When you've got, I guess me being full of myself again, but when you've got the intelligence but not being able to use it because of your disability, it was tough. And then after I did it was a business administration apprenticeship basically that I did after RNC. And I did that for a year. I was the only apprentice not to be kept on at the council. This was my local council, because everyone says, once you get into the council, that's it, you're done for life. But it just, I had to go and find myself, I think, a bit after that. I did a degree with the Open University, which was amazing. Haven't used my degree, but
join the club, don't worry.
The experience was great. They were so accommodating and so helpful. And I think without them, as part of like my disability student allowance, they gave me training on how to use a screen reader and just everything. All the materials were in an accessible format already, just like so simple. I'm really glad I didn't go to a brick university, to be honest. It was, but accidentally, it was the best thing that I did. And it gave me time to work my life out and kind of what I want to do with it and who I want to be as a person, as a person now with no useful vision.
I guess lastly then, the only question I have is either from RNC or the documentary, is there anything that you would have changed?
Oh God. I'm glad I went to RNC to meet other visually impaired people, because I never really had that growing up, just knowing other visually impaired people. And whilst I didn't really maintain any friendships from RNC, since then, I've made other visually impaired friends, which has been something invaluable, to be honest. It's really good having that peer support when you need it from time to time, of someone who just gets it about how annoying or how difficult something is, like walking into stuff all the time. But at the same time, I'm so glad that I went to mainstream school and had that sighted experience. And whilst I didn't enjoy secondary school specifically, I'm not, with friendships, maintaining friendships was difficult for me, and just trying to fit in. I'm glad I experienced the tough world out there and what real life is. I wish at RNC I did take the independent living a bit more seriously at the time. I mean, I'm fine now, but to an extent. I wish there was some kind of, I'd hope now at RNC they have like counselling and more mental health support for people who are experiencing sight loss, because that's such a major thing. I'm glad I only went there for a year. I know a lot of people go there for 3 years. I know you both only did a year as well. I'm glad I did all my proper education before I went there, because I remember being there as well, and I think I just did like a module of business studies or something. I didn't need to do any proper qualification.
Oh, didn't fancy ballroom dancing or anything like that?
I could dance. I got distinction in dance. But I remember being in those classes with other people, and I like what you both said as well. The pace of the lessons really slow to what I was used to in mainstream school. And it was just, I always did my homework like a proper little Miss Goody Two Shoes, and they didn't. And I was like, that was okay, apparently. Like, what? The discipline side of things just wasn't there.
Yeah,
I think I wish in a way that I did keep some friendships from RNC as well, but I did leave. When I left, I didn't even say bye to people. I remember quite vividly. I don't know, I was in a weird headspace. I just was ready to get out of that place. Yeah.
I think looking back at it now, I think it's easy to forget how toxic it could become at times, to the point where you would like, I don't like anyone. I don't want to see anyone again. And I don't think that's fair, because I think when everyone's getting that attitude, it's so easy to have sort of like that echo chamber, and then everyone starts to hate everyone. And by the end, I was done with everyone. And now looking back, I think, did I hate anyone?
Yeah,
no. I didn't hate anyone. It's like, but I felt like it by the end. I was like, I don't want to see none of you again.
I did, we talk about all the pants bits about RNC. I've got some good memories as well, I have to say. Some great nights out. And when you guys obviously talking about RNC originally, it's made me think about all the stuff. And I remember one night, a group of us had gone out to the pub or for food or something, and we were walking back. I don't think I even had my cane. And there's no way I could walk without a cane back then. And I insisted that you guided me, T, even though you were night blind. No, I want you. No, he can guide me. It's fine. And I twisted my ankle because you couldn't see me tripping off the curb. And then I was like heroically carried back by somebody else to halls because I couldn't walk. It's just like that kind of stuff that makes me laugh. Like, yeah, I was stupid.
Everyone was invincible back then.
Yeah.
I felt invincible because my night suck was just as bad as it is now back then. Yeah, I would meet Eric from work, and then I would be the one guiding him. It's like, this is madness. How is this a thing? I can see as much as he can, but he's clinging on to me like something's going to happen, but we all know it's going to happen. Let's just laugh about it in the morning, whatever happens.
No, and you know what? I'm gonna put a admission out there. Like, Cleves, I was so intimidated by you at college. I don't know what you were doing there, but I thought you were way too cool to be there. I was just I don't think I dared really talk to you, because you had this aura about you of just being like one of those lads that I went to school with who was way too cool, and I couldn't talk to them.
This
and
is
you just like the way you
because I just feel like such a tool from someone saying this to me.
You don't cut this. Don't cut
you walked around like had your cane folded up like drumsticks or something. Like the way you just held your cane even was like, wow. And just like, yeah, he's just going to his job at Tesco. Like, why? He's got a job. I remember one night, I think I was looking people to hang out with. There was one night I think most people went to play football, and I seemed to hang around mainly with the guys. So I was just looking like round the top floor, like who was it around? And I went into the kitchen, and I remember you standing there, Cleves, with an apron on and like full like Jamie Oliver meal going on. Like, God, it's just you just like, hi, Selina. I was like, hi, and just walked straight back out. Like, who is this guy? He's so independent. What is he doing here? It's so strange.
It was always weird for me because I turned up to college like a week late because I'd gone to like Egypt or something. I'd gone on like a family holiday, so I turned up like a week late and I didn't know anyone. And the worst part was when I got to college, I was like so ill for the first week. So again, I spent the first week just pretty much holed up in my room. So I didn't really get to know anyone either. And I went home like pretty much every weekend as well. I used to catch the train back to Nottingham.
Yeah, well, I did
friends
the
that
same.
went to like a local uni. So I used to just like sleep at my friend's house and then come back on or the Monday or
No, I went home every weekend as well. I think I probably stayed 2 weekends, possibly, if that was it. I'm glad I did. Weekends didn't sound that great there.
No,
they really weren't. I stayed weekends purely because it
was too far. I remember you saying, I remember you moaning. I remember
me moaning, never.
I really do have some fond memories of RNC, of just hanging out and having a laugh. Well, it's just gossiping and catching up on all the gossip around the college. Who's doing what?
There was a crazy mixture of people there. It was crazy stuff.
You'd never see anything like that ever again, to be honest. And I feel sorry for some of them, because I imagine a lot of them, for them being there, they've got great social lives, but then they've gone back home and they probably rarely leave their house and haven't managed to get a job because they haven't been given the right skills, and probably just spend their time probably on social media now talking to people, but not actually going out and doing much, which is sad, because I feel like the college should, as I know you've said before as well, should really set you up properly for life. I think if you don't have the self-motivation to do it, unfortunately, you will end up in that situation, because without forcing yourself to put yourself out there and go through the tricky times, it's difficult to make something of your life. I've done okay. I mean, I could definitely do better with what I've done in life, but it's taken a lot of hard work, work and perseverance and luck, I guess, to get where I am.
But it pays off. You put the work in, Selina, and it has paid off. And I think luck is a part of it, but you can't discount all the work you've put in, and you've persevered. You've had a tough time of it at various points in your life and had a steep learning curve, and you've smashed it with all your accomplishments, and you're still active now and keep yourself busy, and you've got a lot on your plate, which is fantastic.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I mean, I can't complain of where my life is at the moment. I'm very lucky to be employed. I'm very lucky to be getting married. I'm very lucky to have a guide dog. I'm lucky to have some good friends as well, both sighted and visually impaired friends. So, and I've got a very supportive family. So, yeah, all in all, I'm lucky.
When did you get married?
July.
Oh,
15th
nice.
of July. Yeah.
Not long.
No, getting married in Gibraltar. So,
very nice.
Hopefully all this COVID stuff's going to be definitely gone, because this is what we thought 18 months ago when we booked it. Nah, they'll be gone by then.
I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, you're not even going abroad, are you? It's still England, technically.
That's what I keep saying. It's fine. It's still the UK. There'll be levels will be just like ours.
Yeah.
But amazing. Thank you for coming on. It's been amazing.
Thanks for having me. It's been good to chat.
Anytime.
It'll be interesting to see what comes out of all this. Of my ramblings.
You've been immortalised again 15 years later.
No, cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Selina.
Cheers.
See ya.
All the best.
And we're back. I don't normally bring us back, but this time I have.
Yeah, but you got to do something, haven't you?
I think I do a lot on this podcast.
I think you think that you do and also do.
Thanks.
Do you have any compliments for me?
No. Yeah, I don't have any compliments, but I have some advice.
Go.
Don't beg it.
I'm at E-Pan handling for compliments.
No dice.
Great episode.
It actually was. It was really good to catch up with Selina. Hopefully we'll have her back on shortly.
The hope is to get her back on for various topics going forwards. Give that perspective, balance us out.
Like a seesaw.
See, even you did it there. I set it up and you saw us down. Look in your face.
Disdain is what it was.
Total disdain. Total disdain.
Both of you setting it up, but me also biting, so...
There you go.
That's what it is.
You're not on form this week.
No, I don't know. Do you know what? The main of the book was good, and then I don't know where I'm at with this wraparound. I'm fucking it up. Right. Until next week, keep it balanced.
Keep it balanced. Seesaw Podcast. Also join us on Reddit.
Thanks for listening to the Seesaw Podcast.
You can find us on Facebook at Seesaw Podcast, Twitter, Seesaw Pod. You can email us at seesawpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on TikTok and Instagram at Seesaw Podcast or Seesaw Pod, depending on which one we want. But get us on the other places. podcast was recorded in front of a blind audience.